Stratford and do that, because there was opportunities and there's challenges here in Stratford to push it forward and to make it even better than it is. And the bid opportunity came up and I took it. So that's my reasoning for coming to Stratford. And I've got effectively 4.5 years in a job to make a difference in Stratford, and then the people will vote, the businesses in Stratford will vote on whether I stay and whether the bid stays. So that is a completely frank description of what the bid is. Here are a few of the photos of my previous life over the last 4 years, and this is what I brought to the interview when I came here to Stratford to talk to the board about what I would bring to the town. Top left, you might have seen me with Rufus the Labrador. He's always about in town, and he's going to become part of Stratford more. There's me talking to the town council in Warwick, talking about their vision and working on the vision. I've had various incarnations looking at Warwickshire Food and Drink, and I've worked with Stratford on many occasions with its producers on bringing the food and drink and supplies of Stratford and Warwickshire into the marketplace, and that's us showing at the NEC the great work that Shakespeare's Distillery, etc. do. This thing happened called COVID, and I'll talk about it later, but that's one of the things that has sort of escalated the challenges and changes in town centres and the retail and business. So there's a long-haired me out down there talking about reopening high streets, talking about what the world's going to look like while we're all thinking about COVID and how we can do business differently. And then there's myself there talking with the Association of Town and City Management and the Institute of Place Management on where I decided to take some of my personal study and to learn about place management and put it into practice. So that's a potted history of myself. Oh, I've lost my cursor.
Sorry, I finished it. I finished
It's
it.
going to be a fight constantly throughout this, isn't it? So I started 9 months ago. You may be aware through social media and through the media that the bid has had a potted history here in Stratford. So that's me being completely open, and I thought about that before I applied for the job, because it was the challenge and the change that I wanted to make to bring to the town. So I took on the job 9 months ago. I recruited Georgia, who used to be the manager here at Everyman Cinema in Stratford, to come and work with me and for us, and there's just 2 of us now that run the bid full time, and we look after the interests of 382 businesses. In the town centre. So a business improvement district is one form of private entity that looks after the business interests in a place. So I've put a little graph up on here for you, so you can see that there are various organisations that support town centres and place, and the bid is top right on there because it's a formal arrangement through a ballot, and it consists of the majority of private funding. Some towns in Warwickshire would kill to have a bid, and we're doing conversations over the last 10 years across Warwickshire. Leamington's got a bid, Rugby's got a bid, Stratford's got a bid, Warwick wanted one, didn't get one, and are still constantly looking at how they can get a bid and how they'd like to have a bid, because they'd like to be able to take the Chamber of Trade that they currently all work with and pay into and formalise it more and put in more money to create a better output. And that's what the bid's here for. We take a levy from all the businesses in the bid area. It is a legal levy that is taken, and every 5 years there is a ballot, where all the businesses get to vote, and they get to vote yes or no. And that's the simple vote. And if more than 50% of the businesses in that rateable value area say yes, it gets 1 tick. It gets a 2nd tick if more than 50% of the rateable value. So it can't be that just 7 of the big rateable value premises vote and the small businesses don't. It has to be that sort of double lock on the ballot process. That ballot happened in March 2024. I was recruited, and then there was a big halt while there was a discussion in town about the legality of that bid and that ballot. I then started in November when the appeal was quashed, and effectively the bid was to continue. So over 2024, I just wanted to The reason I asked about businesses in the town is that some of you will have already seen this before. So there are certain slides that I will have pulled back out from a discussion I had with big businesses in March 2025 this year. So in 2024, there was a successful vote. The bid, without myself in charge, still had regular newsletters. The bid employee discounts still continued. There was social media sharing. Summer and winter planting of the flower tower still happened. There was still Bardwatch, there was still WRCI, there was still all of the great things that the businesses get day to day as being part of that bid and what the bid levy goes to fund. Festivals were delivered, they recruited myself and the projects coordinator last financial year, and then we started to work with the District Council on their footfall project, thank you to UKSBF, and we still supported the Christmas Lights Committee company with funding to support and buy the additional lights they needed for this year's display. And then we also managed the Christmas light switch on in partnership. So I suppose in a summary, the bid is a partnership of all the businesses that pay into it. We work in partnership and collaboration with about 15, 16 organisations within the town centre. There's various faces I can see around the room, so I know that we sit on the same committees, we work together in various guises, birthday celebrations, Christmas lights, strategic partnership, town transport group, town council, and the bid is at all of that tables as well. And that's how it should continue because the bid is part of the town. I'm going to skip that one because that's a bit political, and I'm just going to try and stop away from politics tonight. So, Stratford-upon-Avon bid. In March this year, I looked at the business plan and I wanted to come to businesses to talk about what our plan was going to be for the next 4 years. And I looked at the business plan and we have created a statement that is about summarising what's in that plan, and it really is about enhancing the vitality, prosperity of Stratford-upon-Avon through the initiatives and the collaboration. None of us can do this on our own, and we can only do it together. And that's one of the goals of the Stratford Society as well. It's about working together for your 4 aims on delivering what the residents in the Stratford Society believe Stratford should be. I'm doing that from a business point of view as well, and I like the statement at the bottom of your website that says we sometimes disagree. And it is absolutely fine for us all to disagree, but we still have to get to some consensus at the end of the day on what is best for everybody, and we're all going to have to make decisions on and considerations for others. And that's the way that the town should go, and it's the only way, I think, with the changes in government, with the changes in local government reform, with the changes in the amount of money available for local government and for businesses and for national insurance. We'll talk about some of the challenges, but it's the only way it will work is if we're all singing off the same hymn sheet together. It might be a different tune, but we can still sing together. On the left-hand side there, these are the 4 sort of aims. The bid is going to motivate, empower, collaborate and support, and that runs through our business plan. And doing that, we should be becoming a welcoming town, a vibrant town, a safe town and a kind town. And those are the sort of 4 things that the business plan was written a year and a half ago. It's going to have to last for 4 years, but it's how we interpret that business plan and make it good on what we're actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis in the town, because there will be changes in interest rates, there's going to be changes in tax, there's going to be changes in all these other things that affect businesses, and if we don't look at the business plan and make a sort of informed decision on how we can push it forward, it wouldn't work. So we can't be held to one document when actually it needs to evolve slightly. So, a little bit of place management, so a little bit of lecturing. This is kind of where we are in the present. COVID accelerated all of this, but in 1978, it started with the change of planning law. In the 80s, we had out-of-town retail parks. We had lots of different things that affected town centres, retail, high streets, and how we all behaved. And it's progressively changed. And that world has always changed. If we've stayed still, that's where we've run into difficulties. So people are shopping locally. We've got disrupted visitor markets at the moment. I know that visitor numbers are still slightly down on where we were pre-COVID. That's because some of the Chinese markets are not coming to the UK. It's not that they're not coming to Stratford. They're not coming to the UK as a whole. We're relying on different markets such as South Africa and the Americas now in the short term. And will the Asian markets return? We don't know, but we're going to keep trying. And that's where people like Visit England and Visit Britain have a responsibility to assist the town in bringing in those international tourists. Public space and highways are changing. How people want to behave since COVID is changing, and we need to embrace the fact that we can close roads and we can change the way things work. We can create more green space, we can create more blue space. And how we do that is in our gift, and we can do that as a town, as a set of organisations and a set of residents. But it's about talking about it together and saying what's best for us, what's best for the town, and what's best for business. Because we've all got individual things that we have to deal with, and we've got to try and bring them all together to one table. Digital divide and underserved communities. This picture gets used a lot, empty units. I'll talk about it briefly because I think it's one thing that will come up later on in conversation and discussion. There is this digital divide now, and how our retail spaces are working, they need to work differently for different people. Places that were reliant on retail are going to struggle because retail is a completely different kettle of fish nowadays. Jan talked about us being for retail. Actually, it's every business in Stratford in that area that has a rateable value above 15,000. So it's solicitors, it's offices, it's estate agents. Anyone that's above that rateable value is in the bid. So I've got 382 members who pay me, each with probably 382 different needs and wants. And it's how the bid and the two of us work with them all to create solutions. So as you can see, there's lots of things going on in the background that we rely on, and that if we haven't got a solution to, and if we stay as we are, we're going to get left behind. So there needs to be some sort of frank conversation that business models need to change. Towns need to change, people need to change, but it's how we do that, and do we do it in the right way? And we do it in an open and transparent way. So I suppose a bit at the bottom there is what's in our gift. And I think that's where sometimes the confusion or the outward media presence suggests that what is in our gift isn't in our gift. And actually we see lots of conversations on Facebook, on social media, in the media. Councils need to do that, businesses need to do that. And half the time, some of that information is incorrect. So it's sometimes about saying, no, actually the council can't buy Debenhams. The council can't put someone in there. They can't do all this. It's actually about us how we work together in an amicable way to create a solution and work with private landlords in that case. And it's not just one person's fault, it's probably lots of people's fault. And we should stop blaming each other. So in the future, since COVID, we are now looking at experiences, leisure, events, pop-ups. People want to do things in a different way, and everyone's slightly short on time nowadays. So it's quite a generalisation, but we go to karate, then we do this, then we go to the shopping, sometimes we get it delivered, sometimes we don't. We then go and see our friends, we then want to go to a meeting, actually we're all part of a society, so on a Monday night we go here. Where have our days gone? They seem to have dissipated. We all do things in a very quick, trying to get as many things done in the day. We've maybe lost some of that slowing down and that time to stop and enjoy ourselves. So the world's got quick. Has business, has retail, has town centres kept up with that pace of what the customers want? It's probably a question for all of us to think about. Independence and experiential are key. I know if you want to go shopping and you want to go to your favourite boutique or you want to go do some shopping, you tend to go into the ones where you've got a connection with the people behind the till or what they offer you. Actually, do they give me a glass of Prosecco? Do they give me a cup of coffee? Do they know what I want? And actually it's the experience we're after, probably less than the transaction we get from it. And that's quite vital to retail and hospitality and also town centres. We've got new working and shopping patterns. I know probably on the bottom of everyone's email it says I might send this and you might not be in the office, but we all do different hours now. We all work later tonight or we work early mornings. We've all got a preference. Has retail in the town centre kept up with that? Or are they still open 9 to 5? There's so many things that we need to sort of bring into the equation on what a town centre is and how it behaves, and is it right for the customer? So this is a question to the audience as an organisation, but also as businesses, and it's about having that conversation that, do you want to open up 2 hours later, because that's when people are going to be in town? Oh, we've not done that before. Digital is key. However, there are still 14% of the population that don't have access to a smartphone, that don't use the internet. So whenever we talk about retail, businesses, town centres, we need to try and make sure we've thought about the digital and the non-digital, even though digital is quite key at the moment. It was about 5 years ago, and this lovely robot appeared on my desk about them wanting to do a trial in Leamington Spa, about this last mile delivery with robots going up and down the high street in Leamington. I don't think that's ever going to arrive. Weirdly, I hope it doesn't, because I could just imagine cow tipping in the day. Could you imagine robot tipping down the high street? But these are the things that people are talking about and actually could affect how we do business. And then at the end there, the importance of blue and green infrastructure. We've got a great rec.
What is blue infrastructure?
Blue rivers, so water. So water and green spaces. So Stratford were very lucky with green and blue because we've got one big blue and one big green. However, I would say it's just in one place. So actually, we could perhaps do with more greening elsewhere. But how do we do that? Well, I could go on for hours on placemaking, but how do we get that additional green space without losing some of the amenities that we think we need in that area? And that could be a whole topic and a discussion just on one space. As part of the Institute of Place Management at Manchester Met University, they did a long study on what affects town centres and places. This graph here shows, it's probably a bit difficult to read, so I'm sorry. People want me to share the slide, I can do afterwards. It's got how much factor or influence the factor has across the bottom on vitality for a town, and how much the town can influence that factor. So these are the top 25 things that we're talking about in placemaking that we could affect. So when the bid thinks about, when I think about what's in the bid business plan, I think about, can I affect place marketing? And actually it's one of the top 25 priorities, and it's something we should be looking at. Things like the non-retail offer, can people walk around the town? What's the activity of the place? Are all things we should actually concentrate on and think about, because we can make change and we can affect change, but also it has a better influence on the vitality and the vibrancy of the town. And I think all of those 25 factors are somehow woven into some of the business plan, but there are elements of it that aren't, so I will be looking to make sure we think about them when we're consulting or engaging in the future. So, that's probably a better slide for you all. They're the top 25 things we can affect. Right, from merchandising of the town, functionality, is it accessible, is it adaptable? Are the right networks and partnerships in place? I think in Stratford, yes, they are. We probably just need to work on a little bit of the collaboration between the groups we've already got, and to cement those relationships and work on the streamlining of them. So I'm probably going to talk more about partnerships later on, and I'd love to come back perhaps in a year and a half's time to see how we've got on, and have we increased the efficiency of all of the organisations in town. Because we all do great work, but we're probably not all quite in the same direction.
I'll put you down for sometime in 2027 then.
Absolutely. Yeah, plenty of time. Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to think what we might have in the diary. So, I've gone completely off script. I always do. I didn't actually, anyway. I want to talk about empty units, and I've put a table in here because I know it's a question we might get about empty units in towns. I'll leave it on this slide. Empty units, probably, well, every conversation I have with people involves empty units in Stratford. The national average from the CBRI, is 14.1% of empty units. In Stratford, I got off the district this afternoon, the up-to-date figure. They do a walk round every quarter, and this is not the bid area, this is what the district council have done, but the overall empty units is 21 units in Stratford. So that's 21 units empty, which is 8.8%. That doesn't include the one on the Maybird, which I counted because the Maybird is within the bid area. And of those units, some of them are already let, some of them are turning over, some of them take 3-4 months to. So Arkle as an example, I can see the let sign's gone up. And from the conversations I'd had with people in town, I think there were a lot of people that wanted that unit on Henley Street. So I think there was a queue of people waiting to get into Arkle, that empty building. And from our conversations with businesses and with organisations around the town, there are people that want units, but they want the right units. So some people are sat in a queue waiting for their one unit that they really want because it's got the right size, it's got the right amenities, it's got a car park close, and big businesses are looking for those units, but they're willing to wait because they want to make an investment in it. So I would say empty units turn over quite quickly in Stratford at a certain level. I know I took a call and I think I've managed to fill a unit that might just be going on the market, but a men's fashion retailer phoned me and said, can we talk about empty units, what's in Stratford? I gave them a little pricey, and hopefully we've got someone coming into that unit. I was talking to Ellen and Lou at Salt Beef. I don't know if you've all been to Salt Beef. It's a lovely little place for your lunch. It's expensive, but you know what? It's great. Really good quality food, great service. And she was talking to me about 6-7 months ago on empty units, and she's now in Shrewswalk because it was the right size for her and it's what she wanted. So yes, we might see the doom and gloom negative conversation about there are empty units in Stratford. Yes, I agree, there are some of them that are massive, BHS and Debenhams, but that in itself is a whole conversational project on how someone with larger sums of money than I would care to work with need to develop some of those sites because they will need lots of work, BHS as an example. So it's not just about the book value of that property, it's about what you have to spend and is someone willing to do that to get a different solution for that building. And I think from a planning, it's gone through numerous iterations, and when it doesn't quite work, the market and the private investor goes, actually, I can't see the benefit in that. So it's a very long discussion and a very difficult discussion to have. I'm hopeful that we can look at those solutions and that in my tenure, in the 4 years, we can get somebody to go in there and do something with it. And that's not a promise, because I can't afford the £5 million to buy it perhaps, and then you'd say what, about 20 million perhaps, to actually put it into some sort of new venture. So they're probably the sums of money you're talking about looking at that property. So, bid plan is set up into 6 sections. It's about promoting the town. So, a commitment I made in March, and John and Heather was in the room at the time, was that the first one is that I was going to look at an outward-focused promotional website branding for Stratford-upon-Avon. A joined-up, inclusive, including as many businesses as possible, all the organisations that run events, and we put it into one place. At the moment, we are fragmented in the town. And then after that, there was a commitment that big businesses would get additional support as part of that website, and we'd have thematic campaigns. To do that, I also had to do a bit of personal development with the British bids industry. I had to write a little project, and I picked a topic that was close to my heart at the time, because I was dealing with the negativity, the barrage, and actually it became very personal because I'd taken over an organisation and basically everyone started to hit me with the negativity on what was going on in town. So it was a bit cathartic to say, actually I need to think about this in my own brain, step back and understand why people are shouting at me. So I wrote a little piece on the perceived fight between the residents in Stratford and the visitors, who shouts loudest, who gets what they want. At the same time, we had the lovely Herald piece, we had the Daily Mail piece on the terminal decline of Stratford, and all of this was kicking off, and I'm sat there going, oh, right, I need something to sort of think about this and put it into context. On the left-hand side is what people were reporting. On the right-hand side was what I'd see when I was walking around on a day-to-day basis. I'm new in town, I was seeing the lights being switched on, I was seeing festivals, I was seeing people in the streets. And it was different to what I saw in the papers. So what was actually true? I made a little summary to myself that one, I was going to find out, is it really dying? Second, what can we do about it if it is? Or what do we need to do? And I actually decided, what's the role of the Stratford-upon-Avon Forum? Because it was the one bit where I was seeing the most negativity towards myself and the organisation. So I literally had to say, right, I've got to deal with this personally. The only one I had access, so this is what people see externally about Stratford-upon-Avon. We've got a Stratford-upon-Avon website. I don't know who runs it. I'd love to know who it is. I've been trying. No, so this website about Stratford-upon-Avon, I've been trying since I started to work out who runs it, where it's from. I haven't been able to. On the right-hand side, we've got Visit Stratford. So I have spoken to Visit Stratford on pulling together and working collaboratively, trying to include as many businesses as possible. We've got the forums, we've got a Stratford-upon-Avon page, we've got the original forum, not the forum. We've got the Road Stratford-upon-Avon forum. We've got the bid website itself. So what are people seeing in our town? What are they choosing to see? What are residents seeing? What are visitors seeing? It's all a bit confusing. And I think it would be more efficient if there was just one place that we all looked at. Those were the headlines, and you can see, we've all seen them, I think, about Stratford. Very briefly, what I did was I literally I took 1 week in the Stratford Forum, I read every post, I categorised every post, I categorised the number of comments, what people were saying, to try and get a sort of perhaps my science brain kicking in with my data analyst brain to go, what does it actually mean? So you can see here on the table, there were 52 posts about business promotion that week. None of them had any comments. 27 for retail or service requests. So probably what the forum's actually about. I need an L bar. I need a good solicitor. And actually that's how it was working really well. Then, as you can see, in a frequency order there, you've got different topics. Some of them get a very large amount of responses. Demolition of the building over on Canal Quarter, had 90 people talking about it. So I stepped back and I looked at that and I went, actually, there's probably a very small amount of negativity about the bid and about the organisation, about the negative bits in town. So actually, should I really be listening to it? So it was cathartic to understand that. So future learnings from that was about looking at reimagined and more inclusive and accessible town identity, understanding more about why the forums are there and what they do, understanding the key players, the politics of it all, and focus on what matters. Actually promoting the town, the positivity, the great services, the river, the history are all things that we should be celebrating, and let's not get dragged into the negativity about Stratford. It was almost, I almost didn't need to do the project, but I did need to do the project. So that's about promoting. Hopefully you have all seen there is a survey out there about Brand Stratford and the identity, and that Brand Stratford is literally about trying to understand what the values and the principles would be on that one website. What are we all trying to promote? What's the discussion points, and how we can all talk about it together in the same way. Second part of the bid is about activating it, and this is about activating the spaces and the events, etc. So that's a list of currently what the bid is going to be looking at to deliver. I'll just briefly mention the two biggest ones, which was the Christmas light switch on. I started on the 23rd of October, the lights were switched on the 16th of November. So I had a couple of weeks, we delivered the light switch on, and those, there's Father Christmas and Mrs Christmas, and there were a great number of people in the town. And then we had the Festival of Motoring a couple of weeks ago, and we'd listened to the feedback from businesses in 2019. There was a car festival in 2020. We decided not to base our planning on that 2021, but we took it back to 2019. The prices were based on 2019. The overall ethos of what we were doing for that festival went back to 2019, and I would say it was a success. We didn't get the number of cars that we had in 2019, but we've had 6 years since then. The world has changed. There was a lot of people saying that we shouldn't charge for that, and that's absolutely fine. Let's listen to that. But how can I balance the books for the businesses that pay for that event to make sure that we can charge less maybe for those vehicles, or we need to charge something because nothing is for free, and actually we need to get people's commitment to come to Stratford, because if we're going to invest all of that time, money and effort and close all the roads, cause disruption for businesses, we need to know we're getting cars into that arena. So we are going to look at it, and we're going to look at the feedback we had. Majority of it was positive. It was just about we could do with a couple of extra cars, or could we change the layout slightly. So we will be announcing next year's motor show dates in a month's time, and we'll be also announcing with the people who won the awards at the same time. Thank you to the Deputy Mayor for judging that event. So we're here to celebrate the town. This is where this year, and as part of the big plan, we want to work with as many different organisations who already run events. It shouldn't just be about the bid delivering on events in the town centre. There are lots of other people that deliver events. Pursuits Festival, Annie with the Literary Festival, and it's how we can all work together to deliver those events. It'll be stronger if we all plan events together instead of just relying on one individual organisation to run those events. So I'd love to open up conversations. If people have ideas for events they want to do and want to come to the table and help organise them together, share the risks, the responsibilities, then we're open to do that. And the Wuthering Heights Festival, if you're not aware, there's going to be something down at the Rec on the 2nd of August, is that Saturday? There'll be lots of people doing the Wuthering Heights Kate Bush dance together.
Yeah.
Very random, but amazing. If you look at Folkestone, you will have seen it on Facebook. And it should be things like that that the town embraces. We are committed to communicate, so we've got a regular newsletter and updates, and there's business forums and networking that are happening constantly with the big businesses. Social media channels, and this is where I'm trying to pull apart the communication from the bid. That the bid is a business organisation for businesses that works with organisations in town. That's our primary goal, is to support business in the town. As soon as we put something on promotion on Facebook, there seems to be a bit of a backlash and negativity. And that's not what the bid is about. However, that's what the new town branding and website will be doing. That is the main focus for the promotion in the town. And actually the bid can get on with concentrating on working with businesses on supporting them. So I'm trying to pull apart those communications channels. Bid office is always open. There's lots of people that come up the stairs now. It's really great to see. Sometimes you think, oh God, I was trying to do something, but it's so great that people are coming up the stairs talking about lots of things. Please carry on doing that, because the bid is open and we want to work with people. Supporting, hopefully you might have seen some new bid wardens in town. So the second major commitment to the businesses in March was that we would bring back the warden service to be helping with the antisocial behaviour, some of the homelessness issues in the town, which are all interlinked. And absolutely, it's about trying to get people onto pathways and to let them, help them to make a decision that they can no longer be homeless or work with our organisations. So our bid wardens have been now here for 5 days. And as part of that, there is Jake and Sean. So Jake and Sean are our first 2 wardens, and there will be some part-time wardens that join the team to allow for holidays, etc. There'll be policing 5 days a week at the start, and as we look at what the hotspots are, hopefully that will increase, and we will be changing the times of the days when they are out back. The table on the right, the charts on the right, are the output from last week's reporting. So, as you can see, there's mentions there of hotspot patrolling, so the bid has also managed to secure some additional funding from the Police and Crime Commissioner to help deliver the hotspot funding in Stratford. So those bid wardens, we've got an additional sum of money to help do a few more patrols in the town at times where there are hotspots. So we will be working later into the evenings, and they'll be working on key areas in the town centre, which is S1, S2 and S3. I haven't got any maps there, but it is the main town centre area. And you can see the types of incidents that last week the two bid wardens went to. It was about events, it was about crime, drugs, and they're dealing with that and they're fronting up those conversations with the people. I was out on Friday with them and they were running between Marks and Spencer's, Poundland, Sainsbury's, and within about 20-30 minutes, various people had got up from the floor and had dissipated, and actually I could see that the bid wardens were having a positive effect on what was going on the high street. I can't say that won't displace them elsewhere, but we have looked at working with the police on being able to be more upfront with the conversations with those people. The bid wardens and the contract we've selected has been picked because of the ability for those wardens to have handcuff training. They don't carry them at the moment, but it is part of the service that they are trained to do. And we wanted to have that hybrid approach so that actually supporting the businesses in the town centre, they're not ring-fenced to do one job. Actually, they're working, like the bid is, for businesses, for non-bid businesses, because if something's going on in the street, they're not going to not deal with it. But they're specifically here for our area in Stratford Town Centre. And our final category is about representing Stratford, and that's where we work with organisations, we work with national organisations, we can represent businesses and think about things like national insurance increases. We can talk with Manuela about VAT and how that's affecting hospitality businesses. There's going to be this perfect storm, I think, coming up to next budget, and we're going to have a rates re-evaluation across the whole of the country, and also they're looking at business rates review at the same time. I think we as a bid and with other organisations across the country are worried that the business rates team in central government are not talking to the business rates and the rates re-evaluation, because they're kind of interlinked with how they work in this country. And actually, if they're going to change a multiplier and the rateable value, it could either be really good or really bad. And we want to make sure that businesses and bids are all talking together on how that affects businesses in the town centre and thus the cost of living, etc. We will champion all businesses as part of that promotional campaign and the new website. And one thing I noticed when I came to Stratford is that there actually wasn't one operational meeting of how the town works. So we had one meeting, we're due one in a month's time, but I brought together the parking teams, I brought together the highways teams, the officers, I brought together parks, green spaces to say, why are we not all meeting together? Actually, placemaking is about all of us working on the solution together. Actually, if you want to put a bench there, how does it affect this, etc. So I've started those conversations at the bid and hopefully have an operational type discussion as well as the strategic discussions about the direction of travel for the town. So, data sharing. Thank you to the District Council for the UK SPF and the footfall counters. As you can see, here is the footfall. There are 4 footfall counters in Stratford now. They are a slightly different counter to what we've had in the town before, what you've had in the town before. So I can't at the moment make direct comparisons. I'm trying to work with the county council with some of their counters to see if there's a way of looking at what the counters might have been. But at the moment, as you can see, up to year to date, there's been 5.5 million counters on the footfall. And all the data streams I want to try and bring together in one place here for the town. They're not currently in the one place, they're all by different organisations, but can I bring the visitor? We don't have visitor service for the town. I want to start doing that to understand where our visitors are coming from, why they're coming to Stratford. The attraction data, so what are coming through the businesses' doors. Hotel bed usage, that is available if you pay for it, so we need to work with our hotels. Parking usage. I needed to bring up the P word before anyone else does. There are the average prices of parking in Stratford. We have lots of parking. We have lots of different types of parking. It's probably about how clever we are at telling people where they are. I'm speaking to John because there's a £4 one here, which is the marina. But absolutely, we have different price points of parking in this town. Let's tell everybody about it. So yeah, there are solutions for absolutely everybody. We're just not good enough at telling people where it is. And actually, because they're organised by 5 or 6 individual people who run those parking, the bid wants to help to bring it together, so it's just there for people to make a choice.
It's just too high.
Those prices,
You put the prices of car parking down, you'll get more footfall, you'll get the visitors back. Look at Welford, look at Welford. No, Ulster.
apps.
No parking.
I would say, no parking is free, so actually there is a cost associated with it. All of those figures, I looked at Cheltenham, Oxford, Bath, York, all of our key destinations where we have a large amount of tourist footfall, like Stratford does, are all way higher than us.
I
Way
disagree
higher.
with you. I disagree with you. It sounds simple, but it's not.
So absolutely, if we're thinking about the balance of tourists and residents,
Yeah.
there are different options for different people. We need to tell people that £4 parking at the marina is fabulous. If you're after 10 o'clock, you're not going to get in, but you might get in, but you've got to try first. And it's that sort of conversation to be had with our residents and our visitors and the people who need to park here all day, the people who work here. How do we have that solution for everybody? And it's such a difficult conversation. And I do have to keep talking to businesses that say, we just want free parking. It's just like, no, that won't work. And I'm sorry to have to disagree with you. It won't work because nothing is free. If you want to put lines on the car park, if you want to manage the car park, if you want to switch electricity on, all of those things cost money to do with revenue. Yes, there might have been a capital outlay that someone else has paid for to get the car park there, but it still costs money day in, day out to run it. So there has to be some charges involved. Even if it's free parking for certain hours, that still incurs a cost. We have to be realistic about that. I'm very near the end and I'm conscious of time. So what is in the future? This is my last slide. So I'm sorry, I'm slightly over people. Stratford Town Strategic Partnership Project Delivery. We've got a great strategic team, but how do we now action some of the stuff we talk about? I know there are some people in the room that are part of that. The crime and safety projects need to continue. I've started with wardens, but it's about best bar none. It's about getting us Purple Flag accredited. It's about getting us up there in the scale of when people want to come to towns, they come to Stratford because they know it's safe. We're safe spaces for women and vulnerable adults, etc. I want to start those conversations. Best bar none's on there. Sustainable Stratford, the Purple Flag accreditation, Shop Watch, which we started. We've always had a bar watch and a pub watch, but it's now about a retail watch as well. We've had our first meeting. We need to be inclusive, we need to be accessible to as many people, because being inclusive and accessible actually means a lot more people are going to come here. Whole families, whole communities will come to Stratford where they feel like they can't come at the moment. And I'd like to open those doors as much as I can. And then I've got a reballot in 4 years. So ultimately, my goal is to put all of this back to everyone and say, businesses, do you want us to continue or not? But it's in your hands then. Thank you, everybody.
Can you answer any questions?
I'm sorry?
Finish sneezing.
I just need to blab my nose with the word. Questions? Lady at the front.
Well, a couple of comments and one question. I think you've got a lot to do, and that's
There's two of us.
that's an understatement. I think the one-stop approach for any place around communication, around not having 23 forums, and getting people to talk together for residents and visitors is really good. And you may need one for both if you're a visitor, if you live here, kind of thing like that. Podcasts are very useful for promoting businesses, and I know someone who has started one recently to promote businesses and had salt beef on the other week. She's had other people, local person. I think that's really good. Her name's well, the podcast's called Four Wheels and a Hat, but I can give
I've
you
got
that
pens, so I'm
detail.
going to have to
I
write
can
that.
give you that.
Absolutely.
The other thing is working strategically but about a local action-based thing. I worked in public health until I retired a couple of years ago. I saw my esteemed colleague Emily van de Venter
She's in
on
Wales
there
now,
in
isn't she?
COVID. Yeah, she's gone now, she's left us. I'm just thinking about the public-private partnership that you've got and how much the public sector employs, encourages, plans housing, which then affects what happens in the town, and the south-based place here, you know the NHS
Yes.
one in the south, are you connected to those?
At the moment, I'm not. So Jane Coates?
Yes, I know Jane.
I did all the Commonwealth Games and all
Yes,
the
yeah.
corporate games with Jane. So I've got those connections. I haven't picked them up yet, but absolutely public health should be in that list.
I'm just
Um,
thinking it's a good ally because of the green spaces, because of the health and wellbeing, also the warden schemes in other places where they've had people like Street Angels,
Yes.
you know, those other places, and the mental health services that used to do a street-based service here, because I used to commission them, so they used to come and deal with people who were, you know, were ill, usually mental health, usually drug or substance misuse related, or domestic abuse or something like that. But there are those connections to be made.
I fully agree, and I suppose that's a bit. I didn't talk. We are there for the above and beyond what the statutory function is,
Yes.
and some of those statutory functions, like some of those street wardens and things,
Yeah.
have dissipated over the years.
Yes,
just
the
like business
funding-
support
I
has
think the funding
dissipated,
went down, didn't
and
it?
all that funding for statutory solutions
So I remember
has
they
finished.
started.
And actually, there's a massive piece into a conference I went to in January about where is that line now between a business improvement district that started 20 years ago as the nice to do positive stuff, and bids seem to be taking on a lot more than the statutory functions are dropping off, and absolutely, as you can see, that business plan is massive. There's only two of us. We've only got £400,000 in the pot.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot of money to deliver an event to 5 major events in a town centre and try and do daily working with businesses. So actually, we're almost becoming stretched, too stretched as well. So it's a massive debate on, and then we've got local government reform happening. So how,
Unitary or not.
which, absolutely, and which area, and do we become partnered up with the town? Because actually the town council, or whatever the town council becomes, if any of this
Depending on-
happens,
Yeah.
is the bid just aligned? And as an example, Falmouth is a great town. Their bid and their town council are as one. Actually, they share staff and they work together because they've got the same sort of commercial interest in that town. So there are various models, and at the moment I'm probably doing this. The same with
Yeah.
local government is doing that, because I've got 4 years and we need to make sure that I feel like I'm doing the best for my businesses and the town centre, because that's why I picked this job. That's why I came here. So I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And that's, yeah.
No, I think you've